Can anyone confirm my screen is visible or not?
Yeah, visible.
It's visible.
Sorry, can anyone confirm?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
visible.
it's visible.
Just give me 1 minute. Okay, let me start the recording also. Already started. So in last class, we had discussion about the API. Like we had discussion different kind of API. Okay. And then what is web service, what is source system, what is target system. So this kind of high level discussion we did. Okay. So today we will be focused on developing a REST API. Okay. And we will do like very small API development, and we'll understand some basic components what we need to develop any REST API. Okay. And before that, we will understand more about the REST API, how it works. Okay. So yesterday we had some discussion what all things is required to develop a REST API, and what is the advantage, and what is what all characteristic this REST API has. Okay. So coming to REST API. Okay. So first thing, whenever we develop any REST API, okay, so we need to expose our API as a REST API. Like whenever we are saying we are developing a REST API means we are exposing our API as a REST API. Okay. And where it will be deployed, it will be deployed on internet to make this web service. Then only someone will able to use our REST API. Correct. So whenever we develop any REST API and we expose our REST API, then few things we need to configure, that is address of the API. Okay. So for REST API, to define the address, we need some detail like host, port, base path, and URI. Okay. And combining all these three, host, port, base path, and URI, we call it URL. So what will be URL? That will be host plus port plus base path okay. So this URL means uniform resource locator, and this URI means uniform resource identifier. Now let's try to understand this thing URL thing from real life example. So let's say you have your house and it's situated inside one city, and there will be some street number or something. Okay. So or let's say you are living inside a society and your house number is this, and that society is inside particular city. And if someone want to send any message in term of someone want to send any parcel, then what they need to do, they need to provide complete detail, like first country name. Now inside that country there will be many city. So which city? Okay. So inside that city there will be many society, then which society? And inside that society there will be many house numbers, so which house number? So same way you can treat this. Host means country, then port. So within that country there may be many city. So which city? Then base path, like within that city there will be many street number or many society. So we are taking base path means we are taking society. And within that society there will be many houses, means which particular house. So that will be house number. Okay. So whenever we are defining any API, so first thing we need to do, we need to give the address of that API. If someone want to call this API, if someone want to use this API, then how they will use this API. So once your API will run on server, it can be local server, it can be any cloud server, or it can be anywhere on internet. So to call your API, they need the address of the API. Okay. So to define the address, we term this like as a technical term in internet, URL. Okay. And that URL consists of host, port, base path, and URI. Now try to understand technically also. Host means on internet there will be many addresses like IP addresses. So which IP address on internet your Mule server is running? And then port. So within that host Okay, means within that IP address, there will be many physical locations. Okay, so there will be many multiple port. So in those port, which particular port your application is running, Mule server is running, and then base path. Okay, base path means like within that host and port, like within that IP address, there will be one port where your Mule application will run. So this is the application name. You can say like identifier for application. And then within that application, there will be many endpoints, many resources. Okay, so which resource we want to call, you need to give the resource URL. Okay, so in this way, we define the URL like location of any API. Okay, now this is first thing we need, that is URL. Then second thing we need, that is method. So whenever we are developing any REST API, so we can perform different kind of operation on that REST API. Let's say we are calling any customer registration API. So what customer registration API will do, in registration table, where we are storing the registration detail, in registration table, it will create a new record for new customer. If we are creating any new record or any new resource using our API, or our API will create any new record or new resource, then that API, for that API, we need to define method as a post. Okay. So post method we use to create any new resource. If your API is going to create any new record or new resource, then to define your API or to expose your API, we should use post method. Okay. Second, we have get method. Let's say you have already like many records and you want to fetch data from that record. It can be single record or it can be multiple record. So if you are retrieving resource information, then we should use get method. Now third, we have put method. So put method we have, let's say your API can do two things. Either if record exists, it will update the record. And if that record doesn't exist, it will create the new record. Okay. Let's say you have requirement. You are inserting data in one table, database table. And whatever record you are passing, let's say you are passing the uh, something like you can say payment related information. So for that particular customer, if already he has done the payment, then update the payment detail. And like updating means completely update the payment record. for that particular customer. And if there is no payment transaction for that particular customer, then create a new record in database table or target system. If we have such kind of requirement, means if record is there, update that record. If record is not there, then create a new record. In those kind of scenario, business requirement, we need put method. Okay. Then we have patch method. In patch method, if we have requirement like there must be record for particular, like there must be record whatever data you want to update. So you will do partial update. Let's say we have one customer detail in customer table, and I want to update the address of the customer. Okay, so if you want to update the address of the customer, then you are updating the parcel information of that customer. Okay, so if you want to do partial update for any records inside the resource, then we will use patch method. So difference between put and patch will do partial update, put will do complete update, or if record is not there, it will create the new record. And next we have delete method. Okay, in delete method, it will delete the record or delete the resource detail from the target system. So if your API is going, let's say we are going to unregistered for any customer, like we have developed API to unregistered any customer. So what it will do, it will remove the record from that customer. What is going, what we created at the time of registration. So that record should be deleted once he unregistered. In that case, we'll use the delete method. Okay. So we have this method. Okay. Apart of that, we have few more method, but these are the frequently used method. Okay. So whenever we are developing any REST API, so when we will define the URL, we need to define the method also. Okay. Now, third thing, we have third thing, that is YAML file. Okay. So YAML file is optional. It's not mandatory to have the YAML file for developing any REST API. Okay. So yesterday I given one example. If you are planning to build any home, okay. So one thing you can do, first you can create the design of your home, and then you will do the physical development of your home. Physically, based on that design, you will develop your home. Second thing you can do, you can directly develop your home. Okay. So definitely once you will have the design and you will develop the home, that will be more uh, better approach to build your home instead of directly starting. Okay. So definitely whenever we want to create any API, so it's good to have the documentation of our API, which tells the behavior of the API, that is YAML file. But if someone want to develop any REST API without YAML file, technically it's possible. Okay, so we will see both way, using YAML file without using YAML file. Okay, now fourth thing. So whenever we will develop any REST API, so whatever data we will receive, someone will call our API, so they will pass some request data. Okay, so whenever we will receive the request data, so sometime we need to do transformation. Okay, we need to convert the data in one format to another format. What is that another format? That is target system format. So in our first class, I given one example, like if two person want to speak with each other and they don't know each other language, so they will use some middleware, they will use some guide or language translator. So what that translator will do, it will take one person voice in their own language, and then it will convert that voice into another person language. Okay, so same thing whenever we are developing any REST API, so it will take data from the one system and will convert data into target system format. Okay, so we need data transformation. Okay, and then connection with the target system. Okay, so to develop any REST API, we must need all these things. Okay, anyone has any doubt on this part? Let me know. If anyone has any doubt on this part, let me know. Okay,
Yeah, Ravi.
so we don't have any
Here,
doubt. Yes, good.
here means we are using the RAML. Means without RAML, how can you define the all the data types and all those things?
Sorry. Without RAML, what you mentioned?
How can you define the all the means data types and all those things, elements and in REST API?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, RAML is kind of documentation. Okay, it's not the actual implementation.
Okay,
Okay. So whenever we are developing the RAML for any API, that is the documentation of that API, like what will be behavior of the API, what will be input, what will be output, what will be URI for that API. So those kind of detail we capture there. Okay. So let's say someone uh, like same example, someone want to build the home, but it's possible like without creating any map, he can start directly building the home. So technically that is possible, but that is not a good approach. That is not a good way. Okay.
okay,
So only that difference is there.
So Ravi, in that case, where we will define this method within this AnyPoint Studio if you're not using RAML file?
Yeah, so that I will discuss. Like we'll discuss when we will start the API development. We will discuss.
Mhm, okay.
Okay. Now one more thing, one important thing. So whenever we are developing any API, that URL must be there. But coming to method, okay. So there are different method, and based on different scenario, we will select different method. But technically, it's possible. Let's say this post method. What is the purpose of post method? Can anyone tell me what I mentioned? When we will use the post method?
When we want to create an API, like
Create a
similar to
new
write,
API. Sorry.
it's similar to output or we can say write.
Whenever we want to create a, like our API will create a new resource or new record. Correct.
Yes.
And get method we use to retrieve the resource detail. Okay. But technically it's possible we can use reverse way. Like get method we will use to create a new record, and post method we will use to retrieve any new record, to retrieve the record. Okay. So technically it's possible you can use any method for any scenario. But why we are using this particular method for particular scenario? Purpose behind this, like this API governance. So whenever we are developing any REST API, we should follow the API governance. Okay. Now let's try to understand this from real life example. Generally, like whenever we create a home, we put door and window. Okay. Purpose of door is someone can in or out from the house. And purpose of window, so we can open and we can get the air inside the house. Okay. But at the same time, technically it's possible or not? Tell me. So if someone want to in inside the house, in or out using window, so that is technically possible. And then we will use, like someone want to use the door for, and someone want to use the door for for to get some air inside the house. Okay. But what it will do, it will create confusion for other people. Okay. Technically he can do, he can create the window for in and out, and he can create the door for, to have the air and sunlight inside the house. So he can do things in reverse way, but what it will do, it will create confusion for other people. Since everyone know, we use purpose of door is to, to go inside or outside of the house. But one person created window for that purpose. So that person who created, he know this is the purpose of creating window. But for other people, they have some different understanding. Like door should be for in and out. Okay. So it will create confusion to other people. So that's why uh, for REST API integration, for REST API integration, we have some API governance. Okay. Like some set of rules are there. Okay. That we need to follow. it's like not mandatory, but it's good to have. Otherwise, it will create confusion for other people. Okay. So that's why for any API, for any kind of operation, we can use different method. Okay. But as per API governance, we have for each method, there is one purpose. Okay. So we should use that method for that particular purpose. Okay. Same thing for RAML. Like RAML is good to have, but it's optional. Data transformation and target system connection, we will see how we will do that. Okay. So to develop this API, we must need to know all these things. So let me know if anyone has any doubt on this part. Now, like for this URL part, let me take one example. So this is one website. Okay. For this website, I call this endpoint. Okay. This is nothing but this is a endpoint for the API only. Okay. So now you can compare this from this one. Okay. One important thing we missed here, that is protocol. So, DTDs. Okay. So we want to exchange the data, like we want to change the data. We want to call the API to send the data to target system. But how we are going to send that data? Okay, there should be some medium. Which medium we are going to follow? We are going to follow the post office. We are going to follow some courier partner. Okay, since everyone has their own way of sending the data. Okay, so same thing happen on internet also. So whenever you are exchanging the data, okay, so you need to follow some protocol of internet. Okay, so whenever we are exchanging data on internet, so there are some set of rule which do data transformation. Okay, so that set of rule is known as protocol. Okay, so whenever we are talking about this REST API, then we have two kind of protocol. Okay, as I mentioned, protocol is what, like it's a set of rule for data transformation on internet. Okay, so there are two protocols are there for REST API or for HTTP. That is, one is HTTP and another one is HTTPS. Okay, so HTTP protocol, like it's a hypertext transport protocol. So this protocol and HTTPS, that is secured HTTPS. Sorry, secured HTTP protocol. We use for different for different requirement. Okay, so these are the protocols we need to develop any REST API and to exchange the data on internet. Okay, so here you can see for this particular okay. So this HTTPS is protocol. Protocol means rule how we are going to send the data, and then this one you can see sketch.io, sketch.io. So this is combination of host and port. Okay, so this sketch.io is a combination of host and port. Okay, so why this sketch.io is combination of host and port? So that part, if you have some understanding of networking, then you will come to know. So host and port will be IP address and some numeric number. Okay, it will be 192.127.126.101 like that. And then port will be something 80, 81, 8081, something like that. So for human, for normal human, it will be difficult to remember this IP address and port number. Okay, let's say there are 10 websites. So for those 10 websites, it's very difficult to remember their IP address and their port number. So what internet service provider did, they identified easiest way to remember this. So what they did, they created DNS, domain name configuration. Okay, so what DNS do, for each IP address and port, it will give a unique name to that IP address and port. Let's say facebook.com, gmail.com. Okay, so if you want to connect with Facebook server, with Facebook API, then you need to provide the endpoint, like IP address and port detail of Facebook server. But for us, it will be difficult to remember those port address and IP address and port. Okay, since we are using nowadays, we are using many API, and for each API, remembering this is very difficult task. So what we do, just give me 1 minute. Sorry, yeah. So it's difficult to remember the host like IP address and port detail. So instead of that, we use this IP. We use this domain name. Okay. So you can see many domain service provider are there in market. So you can purchase the domain from there. And that what that domain provider will do, it will so what like once you will call that domain before going to internet, it will be converted into related IP and port, and then request will go to okay. So this domain name will be converted into IP address once it will go to domain service provider. And then this one is like sometime there will be base path and sometime there will be only URI. So here you can see we have directly URI. We don't have base path. Okay. So it's not mandatory every people live in society. There may be few people they are living directly on individual house. Okay. So same thing is here for this API. There is no base path means there can possibility there will be only like that will be individual house. So same way this will be individual endpoint or resource for this particular IP address and port. Okay. So this is the example of this URL. Okay. Now coming to method, you will not able to see here. Okay. You will not able to see method here. But when we will call from postman, there we need to provide this method. Okay. But YAML file, like we will see two kind of API. One API we will see without YAML file, and another one we will see with using YAML file. So you will get more understanding what is difference between those two kind of API. Technically, both are possible. Another thing, definitely, like we need to cover that each like once we'll receive the request, we need to do transformation and we need to send that data to target system. Okay. Now to create any REST API, first thing we need to have the software or tool where we can do the development and all. Okay. So for that purpose, you need to first you need to create account of Anypoint platform, and from there you can download the software Anypoint Studio, and that software we will use for development purpose. So how you will create the account and how you will download? So here you can search anypoint.mulesoft.com, and here in this IP address, okay, it's asking for login. Case if you don't have account, then you will go to sign up. We'll go to sign up. So here you need to provide your full name, email address, phone number, company, username, password, and this option you need to select I am not a robot, and I agree the condition. So while creating this Anypoint platform account, this trial account will be valid for 1 month. Okay. After 1 month also you will able to use many features, but cloud, like this deployment feature will not be available. Okay, where you can deploy the Mule application, that part will be disabled. Okay, but for practicing purpose or for many learning purpose, you might need that deployment server also after 1 month or 2 months. Then what you need to do, you need to fill all this detail, same detail. Only thing you need to change this username. Okay, so using same email address, you can create multiple user. Okay, using same email address, you can create the multiple user, and each user will have 1 month validity. Once you will create that, that will be valid for 1 month. Okay, and after 1 month, you need to re-register. You need to sign up again with same email ID. Okay, so I have already signed up account, so I will go for sign in. Okay, one more thing. After sign up, it will ask you to validate your account. So you need to go to email and you need to validate. And once you will be validate, you will be auto logged in. But my guess, I haven't done sign up now, so I need to come to this login page and I need to do login. So here I will pass the username and password. Okay. So here, once you will be login, you can see this Anypoint Studio option. Click on download. And you need to select the option like product selection. So Anypoint Studio version, take latest one. Operating system, you need to select. I have Windows. First name, you can give all this detail. Company, you can put wherever you want. You can put any company name. Job title also, you can put anything. Phone number and other thing. Let me see if it is optional. Click on download. Industry, it's mandatory. Okay, for at the time of creating sign up your account, I don't think it asks for registration. For what I that you can check if it will ask for uh, verification, then you can verify. If not, then you can create directly account. Okay, so after this, they will send the link on your email address. So you need to open your email. And here you got this link. Go to download page and it will start the download. Okay, so it started the download. It will take few minutes. Okay. So what you people need to do, you people also need to complete the download. And in tomorrow class, we need that software. Okay. So everyone be ready with this till this point. You need to download this software and be ready with that. Okay. Tomorrow is Saturday, but tomorrow will not have class. Sunday we will have for 2 hours. Okay. So before Sunday class, you people need to have this software ready in your system, like this zip file must be ready in your system. So Sunday we will do one hands-on experience, like we will develop one API. First I will explain everything, I will show you everything, and then you people need to develop the API. Okay, so before that, you people need to be ready with this particular software. Okay, so for today we are good. If any query you can ask, otherwise we can end our session for today.
Maybe in any point studio, some old versions